What's going on, my peoples? How y'all doing? It's been a while since I broadcasted. I'm gonna get back on this though. I've been taking a hiatus for no real reason but my own mindset and other things I'm dealing with mentally, as we all are. But I'm about to get back on this and start voicing my opinions on certain things. One thing, I've made statuses about this, like sparingly, like scattered here and there, but like the whole no snitching policy in the criminal world. I think there's this saying, there's no honor amongst thieves, meaning if you subject yourself to the dark world, then there's a chance that dark things are going to happen to you. And being a rat is one of the lowest things. Like if you are a criminal, that's one of the lowest things that people can view you as. And there's so many, like criminals that got locked up and they're doing interviews, and it's messed up, man. I'm just trying to do right, and this dude told on me, blah blah blah. But it's just like, and they're like virtue signaling and saying how you should be a good criminal. How about that? Why can't you just be a good citizen? How about that? How could you trust another criminal? A person that is actively engaged in criminal activities. We all make mistakes. Many of us have a past and things we did in the past. But I'm speaking of as far as what you are doing right now in this present time. How could you trust somebody else that's a criminal not to tell? If a person has a willingness to steal, a person has a willingness to pump drugs in their own community, a person has a willingness to assault somebody, why does it stop with those three things? Why can't they have the willingness to tell on you? Why do you think all of a sudden there's some type of moral fence or bridge that they're not going to hop over? They're willing to kill motherfuckers. They're willing to steal from motherfuckers. They're willing to assault motherfuckers. So why wouldn't they be willing to tell on you if they're doing the activities with you and they get caught up? And then you're really, really upset at that person. All of a sudden, you got all these morals and all these virtues when you get caught up, and you're hoping that your co-defendant or whoever witnessed you doing it doesn't tell on you. You're hoping that righteousness stops them from getting you in trouble. You know what I'm saying? But where was that righteousness and where was that virtue before you committed your crime? It's convenient. That's why it's bullshit. That's why that whole no snitching shit is to be mad at snitches and all that. Why not be mad at criminals doing this shit before the shit even popped off? I understand you gotta have, excuse me, some type of order with all things, and the no snitching policy benefits the criminals. I get it. Like, I totally get it. But you can't be mad at it. If it happens to you, it's just one of those things that's in the game. You put yourself in that game, you put yourself in that atmosphere, this is something that's bound to happen to you. And if you really wanted morality and righteousness and good to benefit you, then you wouldn't be putting yourself in a bad position in the first place for things to turn, for people to snitch on you, for people to turn against you. Now, if you never did nothing and somebody snitches on you, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna be all right because you ain't do shit. Now, granted, we do have the innocent people that go to jail, blah blah blah. I'm not talking about the exception. I'm just talking about the rule, how things goes. But I just find that amazing. Like I saw this interview with My Son and Akon, and then My Son was like basically saying how he respects Akon as an artist. Locked Up was one of his favorite songs of all time. But how could he do songs with Tekashi, who's a rat, one of the lowest forms of criminals? And then Akon's argument was that Tekashi wasn't really in the life, and the people that put him on, they are partially responsible because they knew this motherfucker didn't grow up and come up in that lifestyle. Yet he was a big social media personality and he was able to get the bag. But they knew that this dude wasn't built for that type of lifestyle. They knew he wasn't jumped in. They probably never seen him get into a fight or any of those things. They just knows he has this huge personality that a lot of human beings are drawn to. Tekashi knows how to tap on the emotions of people. He knows how to get a lot of individuals to watch him, and then therefore he generates revenue. And Shotty and all them cats that was with the 9 Trey Bloods, you know what I'm saying? They saw Tekashi as this cash cow, and they pulled him in, even though he earned 0 type stripes. That's like me. I have 0 military experience, and with the U.S. they throw me into like enemy territory for espionage. You know, to spy and to get some pertinent information to take down some type of regime. Even though they haven't trained me, even though I have no experience, and they expect me to be successful in the mission, and then when I fail, they're upset that I fell. Well, first of all, you know, I didn't have the stripes, I didn't have the experience, I didn't have the training, and you trusted somebody with no experience in that avenue. So you can't be mad at anybody but yourselves. That's kind of a different topic, you know, trusting other people. And well, actually, no, it's not. Trusting other individuals with their criminal activity who you know nothing of. And even if you do know something about a particular criminal that you're doing business with, at the end of the day, you're doing something immoral. You're doing something criminal. You're doing something wrong. Like whether you want to believe in karma or whatever. I mean, Murphy's Law says whatever can go wrong will go wrong. You know what I mean? And that's that's with anything. That's with anything. You know what I mean? Like if you're trying to, like, no good deed goes unpunished. I'm sorry to use these cliches. No good deed goes unpunished. You're trying to do something good and something could go wrong. You know what I'm saying? So imagine you willfully doing something wrong. All the more reason for something to go wrong, and you get upset because somebody rolls over on you. Where was your morals? Where was your sense of justice with that crime? So morals can inspire you to not snitch, right? But that same moral God that you adhere to doesn't stop you from assaulting somebody, doesn't stop you from shooting somebody, doesn't stop you from killing somebody, doesn't stop you from putting drugs in the community. It makes no sense. There's no honor. There's no code. There was no moral base. I mean, there's certain things you shouldn't do. Obviously, like we all agree with, like assaulting old people and assaulting kids. There is some type of street criminal code, but you're still dealing with the wild, wild west, man. You're still dealing with those are the dark arts. You're still dealing in an underbelly and an underworld. So you shouldn't be surprised when shit goes wrong, man. You shouldn't have been in that situation in the first place. I made this status earlier. There's a certain t-shirt. I have two Golden Girl t-shirts, a pink one and a like a powder blue, light blue, turquoise, whatever. And I notice every time I wear one of those shirts, you know, white people, just people in general, mostly white women, oh my God, that shirt is so hysterical. That shirt is hilarious. I love that shirt. That shirt is awesome. I get a lot of attention from it, and I enjoy the attention. I think it's cool. But some days, you know, if I don't feel like talking to people, and I don't want to have that conversation about the Golden Girls, then I won't put on that shirt. Now, there's a chance that somebody could remember that I wore the shirt. There's a chance that somebody could just randomly talk about the Golden Girls, even without me wearing that shirt. But the fact that I have that shirt on, I bring certain types of attention to myself. You know, for every action is a positive reaction. If I don't want that attention over the Golden Girls in that conversation, then I leave that shirt in my closet. So it lowers the probability and the chances of me having that conversation. And that's the same thing with criminal activity, man. If you don't want to get snitched on about criminal activity, the most basic thing you can do is not commit criminal activity. I don't knock nobody. I don't judge nobody for what they do. You know, everybody does what they do. Everybody does what they do for whatever reason. Like, who am I to really judge? I could probably have an opinion, but ultimately, if you're not harming me or harming somebody that I know, listen, you're going to do what you do, and eventually, if you're doing something nefarious, more than likely it's going to come back. It's going to come back to you in more ways than one, in one way or another. Even if it's not direct, You know what I'm saying? So that's just a matter of time. You do what you do. But for you to just think that people are going to follow this code in this underground nefarious world, which is extremely volatile, that's kind of like insane on your part to think that. Like, that's why I fucks with I think his name is Lil D. Lil D was a notorious drug dealer from the Bay, from the Oakland area. And I think in the early 80s or like late 80s, late 80s, early 90s, I don't know the exact date. Don't quote me on this. He was pumping drugs like crazy from a teenager to probably like 21, 22. I know I got all the facts straight, but he went real hard for a few years. He was millions of dollars. I think he was one of the richest street drug dealers, or richest kingpins at the youngest age ever. And when he got caught, he told him, he said, when I get caught, I'm gonna be done. And that's exactly what happened, man. I think he was around 19, 20, like 22 or something like that. He got caught. He went down. Never dealt with it again. He didn't seem like pissed off at the people that like helped bring him down, because he took accountability for his actions. You know, he manned up. It was like, I decided to put myself in this room. I knew the possibility that I was going to die, or some people around me was going to die, or I was going to go to prison for a long time. And boom, he got like 30 years. He was in prison longer. He was alive in prison longer than he was alive on Earth. Because I think he was like 22 when he went down, and he got out recently, like the last couple of years, like 53, 54, or something like that. But the thing is, we talk about no snitching, which I get, you know what I mean? Like, even in the criminal world, you want some type of guidelines to adhere by. But when it doesn't work, should that be shocking to you? You're dealing with some unstable shit. That's like if I got some unstable chemicals, you know, I got ammonia and I got bleach and sulfur and shit. I'm trying to make this bomb with all these unstable chemicals and household products that aren't meant to be together, and that shit just blows up in my face. And my intention may have been to create this, to do that. You know, I didn't expect it to blow up in my face, but ultimately it was still extremely volatile chemicals that I was fucking with. That I knew I shouldn't have been putting these chemicals together, yet I still chose to do it because the reward outweighed the risk. All things that people do, nefarious and negative, the reward to us always outweighs the risk, man. Whenever you see yourself about to get into some nefarious shit, you gotta ask yourself, does the reward outweigh the risk, man? And if you can rationalize and tell yourself that it does, or you ain't gonna get caught up, you ain't gonna get caught, you're gonna be smarter than whatever, you choose to do that. But when you put yourself in that arena, there's a chance you're gonna get snitched on. There's a strong chance you're gonna lose, especially in that dark world with some thirsty, dirty, hungry, untrustworthy motherfuckers. It just comes with the territory. And to be upset that you got snitched on or whatever, hey, you put yourself in that arena. What was your moral virtues, and what was your virtue signaling, and you acting all holy? You should have did that. You shouldn't have said that's wrong, man. What was that whole idea of that's wrong before you actually committed the crime, man? Nobody talks about that shit. I'm not knocking nobody. I'm just saying there's no logic. There's no logic in the way a lot of people react when certain things happen to them, when they pretty much just brought it on themselves. There's no logic in that shit. Anytime that I ever got in trouble in life, man, it was always my fault. I always took the blame. Yeah, there's outside factors, like if this situation that happened over here, if that situation didn't happen over there, maybe things would have been different. But ultimately, you can't get checkmated if you don't play chess. In order to get checkmated in chess, you got to push that pawn forward. You got to sit at that table. You got to actually play the game. And if you play the game, there's a chance you're going to lose. You can't be mad at nobody but yourself. Sorry to be preachy, but that's what I had to talk about. I'll holler at y'all. Hashtag everybody need more green. Deuces.
uh, uh, uh.